The Desperate Alliance. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Confederation fell silent as High Chancellor Zex Terrell entered. The avian leader's plumage, once vibrant blue, had faded to a dull gray, a visual testament to the toll the war had taken. Representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations watched anxiously as he took his place at the central podium. No one needed to be told why this emergency session had been called. The Krell Empire was winning the war. Esteemed members of the Confederation, Zex Terrell began, his translator conveying his chirping language into the universal standard. Today marks the 1000th day of our conflict with the Krell. In that time, we have lost 27 systems, 4 member species have had their homeworlds occupied, and our combined fleet strength has been reduced by 60%. Holographic displays illuminated the room, showing the steady advance of Krell forces across the spiral arm of the galaxy. Red indicators overwhelmed the blue, pushing inexorably toward the core systems. The Krell adaptation rate has exceeded our projections. Each tactical innovation we deploy is countered within days. Each technological advantage neutralized within weeks. The Chancellor's head crest flattened in the avian equivalent of grave concern. Our analysts project total defeat within 3 standard months. The room erupted in a cacophony of sounds, the clicking mandibles of the Trisk delegates, the resonant hums of the Velaran diplomats, and the subharmonic rumblings of the massive Jolian representative. Fear transcended species boundaries. Admiral Narrations of the Confederation Defense Force rose to her feet, her crystalline exoskeleton catching the light. Chancellor, we must consider the Oracle Protocol. The room fell instantly silent. The Oracle Protocol was not a military strategy or a weapon system. It was the designation for the most controversial option in the Confederation Charter, recruiting a primitive species and accelerating their development for war purposes. The preservation directives exist for a reason, Admiral, countered Ambassador Lorix of the Velaran Conclave, his luminescent skin pulsing with agitation. We have all seen what happens when less developed civilizations are thrust into galactic affairs before they are ready. The ethical implications alone. Ethics won't matter if we're all dead or enslaved by the Krell, Narrasil interrupted. The Oracle Protocol specifies one candidate above all others. Everyone knew which species she meant. The Confederation had been observing them for centuries, maintaining a strict non-interference policy despite heated internal debate. A curious species that had advanced from primitive tool use to rudimentary space travel in a fraction of the time it had taken most Confederation members. Humans, the inhabitants of the third planet in System J5591. The Chancellor's voice betrayed his skepticism. They have barely established colonies on their neighboring planets. They're centuries away from viable interstellar travel. But they possess something unique, Narrasil insisted, activating her own data projection. Their military development far outpaces their other technologies. While most species develop weapons as a necessary response to threats, humans have elevated warfare to an art form. They've had over 15,000 recorded wars in their brief history. The projection showed historical images of human conflicts, from ancient battles with primitive weapons to their modern global conflicts. Most troubling, she continued, is that unlike most species who outgrow armed conflict as they advance technologically, humans continue to invest disproportionate resources into military research even in times of relative peace. Their entertainment media glorifies combat. Their economies are built around defense infrastructures. The Jolian representative's deep voice resonated through the chamber. You make them sound like the Krell themselves, war-loving and dangerous. No, Narrasil corrected. That's the critical difference. The Krell fight for domination and resources. Humans fight for ideals, for abstract concepts like freedom, justice, and honor. They will sacrifice themselves not just for their own kind, but for principles. That makes them unpredictable in ways the Krell cannot comprehend. The Chancellor's crest rose slightly. Even if we accept your assessment, how would this help us? We don't have decades to integrate them into our technology base. We won't need decades, Narrasil replied. Humans are remarkably adaptable. More importantly, we don't need their technology. We need their thinking. Their approach to warfare. The Krell have adapted to our patterns, but humans don't follow the same logical progressions that all Confederation species share. After hours of heated debate, a vote was called. By the narrowest margin in Confederation history, the Oracle Protocol was activated. Captain Maya Chen of the United Earth Defense Force stared at the bizarre vessel that had appeared in lunar orbit. It had bypassed every early warning system, every defense grid, simply materializing as if the laws of physics were mere suggestions. Still no response to our hails, her communications officer reported. Keep trying all frequencies and protocols, Maya ordered, trying to project a calm she didn't feel. First contact scenarios had been theorized and drilled for decades, but the reality was far more unsettling than any simulation. The alien ship was unlike anything human designers would have conceived, an organic-looking structure with spiraling protrusions and surfaces that seemed to shift colors depending on the angle of observation. It made no aggressive moves, but its very presence in Earth's backyard was enough to put every military force on the planet on high alert. "Captain, we're detecting energy buildup," her sensor officer called out. "They're preparing tow." A beam of light erupted from the vessel, but instead of the destructive blast everyone feared, it coalesced into a three-dimensional projection that filled the bridge of Maya's ship. 3 alien beings stood before them. A tall, avian creature with iridescent feathers, a humanoid figure with crystalline skin, and a massive entity resembling something between a bear and a squid. The avian spoke, and to everyone's shock, in perfect English. "People of Earth, I am High Chancellor Zex Terrell of the Galactic Confederation. We come seeking your help in a matter of utmost urgency." Within 24 hours, representatives from Earth's major powers were gathered in Geneva, attempting to process the information the aliens had shared. The existence of the Galactic Confederation, a cooperative of 17 spacefaring civilizations. The threat of the expansionist Krell Empire. The desperate war that the Confederation was losing. "Let me understand this correctly," said General Abasi Okafor, chairman of the Earth Defense Council. "You've known about us for centuries, deliberately kept us in the dark about the existence of galactic civilization, and now you want our help fighting your war." Admiral Narasil's crystalline form seemed to dim slightly. "We have maintained non-interference with developing worlds as our highest directive. It is not a decision we make lightly to break this principle." "And what exactly do you think we can offer?" asked President Elena Vasquez. "By your own admission, your technology is centuries beyond ours. Our weapons would be irrelevant against these Krell." "Not your weapons," Zex Terrell explained. "Your methods. Your thinking. The Krell have adapted to our predictable strategies. You represent a complete unknown. A species that has developed warfare in isolation, with concepts and approaches the Krell have never encountered." The assembled human leaders exchanged skeptical glances. "We can provide the technology," Narasil added. "We need you to provide the strategy, the tactics, the unpredictability that has defined human conflict." After the aliens departed to allow Earth's leaders to deliberate, the room erupted in heated discussion. Some argued for caution, others saw opportunity, and still others questioned whether this was some elaborate hoax. "If this is real," General Okafor finally said, silencing the room, "then it represents both the greatest threat and greatest opportunity humanity has ever faced. If hostile aliens exist who are capable of subjugating entire worlds, Earth could be next, whether we help the Confederation or not." President Vasquez nodded slowly. "And if we assist and succeed, we gain access to technologies that would advance human development by centuries." The vote was unanimous. Earth would join the war. The Confederation representatives were stunned by the speed of human mobilization. Within days, Earth had assembled a joint task force of military strategists, combat veterans, and unconventional warfare specialists from across the globe. Teams of engineers and scientists worked around the clock with Confederation technicians to adapt human combat systems to alien technology. Commander Elena Reyes, a veteran of urban warfare campaigns in Southeast Asia, found herself appointed as the human liaison to the Confederation Defense Force. As she toured the massive Confederation flagship Eternal Dawn, she struggled to hide her amazement at the technologies on display. "Your propulsion systems are remarkable," she commented to Admiral Marisil as they observed the engine core, a swirling vortex of energy contained within crystalline structures. "But your weapons seem inefficient." The Admiral's exoskeleton shifted hues slightly. "Our weapons are capable of reducing planets to slag." "Power isn't the issue," Elena explained. "It's application. Your weapon systems are designed for maximum force against predictable targets. What happens when the target doesn't behave as expected?" This conversation would be repeated countless times as humans integrated with Confederation forces. The aliens had developed technologies that humanity had only dreamed of, but their application of these wonders followed patterns that seemed overly predictable to human military minds. The Confederation ships were marvels of engineering, but their tactical systems were programmed for optimal mathematical solutions rather than the chaotic, adaptive approaches that characterized human warfare. Confederation commanders sought the correct solution to tactical problems. Human commanders sought the unexpected one. "You're suggesting we deliberately use suboptimal attack vectors?" asked Admiral Narasil during a strategy session, her tone conveying her disbelief. "I'm suggesting we use approaches the Krell won't anticipate," Elena replied. "Perfect predictability is a weakness in warfare." The Confederation War College had developed combat doctrines refined over centuries, elegant, mathematically perfect approaches to space combat that had worked flawlessly against the less advanced species they had encountered throughout their history. But against the Krell, who seemed to anticipate their every move, these doctrines had failed consistently. Human military history, by contrast, was filled with examples of inferior forces defeating superior ones through unconventional tactics, deception, and psychological warfare. Concepts like the Trojan horse, guerrilla warfare, and blitzkrieg fascinated the alien strategists. Most shocking to the Confederation military was the human concept of sacrifice plays, tactical options where losses were not just accepted but planned for if they created advantages elsewhere. The very idea of intentionally losing ships or personnel to gain a greater strategic advantage ran counter to the Confederation's highly optimized approach to warfare. As the combined fleet prepared for what might be the final confrontation with the Krell Armada, humanity's influence became increasingly evident. Ships that once moved in perfect geometric formations now adopted seemingly chaotic patterns. Communication protocols that had remained unchanged for centuries were replaced with constantly shifting encryption based on human cryptography techniques. The Krell, who had grown accustomed to predicting Confederation movements with mathematical precision, would face something entirely new. "Is the fleet ready?" Chancellor Zex Terrell asked as he observed the massive holographic display showing the combined forces. "As ready as we can make them," Elena replied. "But the true test will come when we face the enemy." The Chancellor's plumage ruffled slightly. "Then let us hope your species' talent for warfare proves as exceptional as we believe it to be. The fate of 17 civilizations now rests partly in human hands." Elena looked out at the vast armada. Confederation ships now modified with human-inspired systems alongside the first human vessels equipped with alien technology. She thought about the responsibility they carried and the strange twist of fate that had brought humanity to this moment. "We won't let you down," she said simply. "We can't afford to." 5 hours that changed everything. The combined fleet of Confederation and human vessels hung in the void of space near the Arcturus Nebula. It was a breathtaking sight. Over 300 ships of various designs and sizes, from the massive dreadnoughts of the Jolian Guard to the sleek, crystalline cruisers of the Valoran fleet. Among them, newly retrofitted human vessels stood out with their angular, utilitarian designs that prioritized function over form. On the bridge of the Confederation flagship Eternal Dawn, Commander Elena Reyes studied the tactical display with Admiral Narrasil. Intelligence reports indicated that the main Krell battle group, including their command ship Inevitable Dominance, was approaching through the nebula's outer boundary. "They're coming in exactly as predicted," Narrasil observed, her crystalline form refracting light as she moved around the holographic display. "Too predictable," Elena replied, frowning. "The Krell must know this is our last major defensive position. They wouldn't approach so conventionally unless it's a trap," finished Narrasil, her exoskeleton shifting to a darker hue. Elena nodded. "We need to adjust our strategy." "Permission to implement Operation Trojan." The Admiral hesitated only briefly. After weeks of working with humans, she had learned to trust their unconventional instincts. "Granted. Alert the fleet." Throughout the combined armada, commanders received new orders. Ships that had been arranged in traditional Confederation defensive formations began to move, seemingly abandoning strategic positions and creating apparent vulnerabilities in their lines. To a Confederation tactician, it would have appeared as if the fleet were making critical errors. That was precisely the point. The Krell fleet emerged from the nebula's edge, a terrifying sight of biomechanical vessels that resembled massive predatory creatures. Their ships were not built but grown, living weapons guided by the collective consciousness of the Krell hive mind. At the center of their formation was the Inevitable Dominance, a Leviathan-class vessel nearly twice the size of the largest Confederation dreadnought. "They're taking the bait," Elena observed as the Krell fleet adjusted course, moving to exploit the apparent weaknesses in the Confederation formation. "All vessels, hold positions until my mark." The Krell, sensing easy victories, accelerated toward what they perceived as gaps in the defensive line. Their hive mind, which had studied Confederation tactics for years and could predict their moves with near-perfect accuracy, calculated an 87% probability of breaking through the enemy formation within minutes. What the Krell hive mind couldn't account for was human deception. "Now," Elena commanded. Across the battlefield, ships that had appeared vulnerable suddenly powered up previously dormant systems. Confederation vessels that had been broadcasting standard energy signatures suddenly revealed hidden weapon emplacements. Human ships that had been running with minimal power surged to full capacity. The Krell fleet, committed to their attack vectors, found themselves caught in a three-dimensional crossfire. For the first time in the Thousand-Day War, the Confederation forces had achieved tactical surprise. "All wings, execute attack pattern Thermopylae," Elena ordered, referencing the ancient Earth battle where a small force had channeled a larger one into a killing zone. The battle erupted in earnest. Confederation beam weapons sliced through Krell bioarmor, while human-designed kinetic weapons, a technology the Confederation had largely abandoned centuries ago in favor of energy weapons, tore through enemy vessels with devastating efficiency. The Krell had optimized their defenses against energy attacks, but had little protection against the massive tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic speeds. On the tactical display, Admiral Narrasil watched in amazement as the Krell formation began to fragment. "Their coordination is deteriorating," she observed. "The hive mind seems confused. They're experiencing cognitive dissonance," Elena explained. "Their models can't reconcile what they expected us to do with what we're actually doing. But they'll adapt quickly. We need to press the advantage while we have it." She turned to the communications officer. "Signal attack group misdirection to commence Phase 2. A small group of fast attack vessels, a mix of human corvettes and Velaran scouts, broke from the main battle and accelerated toward the rear of the Krell formation. To the Krell, they appeared to be attempting to flank their forces, a standard Confederation tactic that had failed repeatedly in previous engagements. The Krell responded predictably, diverting defensive resources to counter the perceived flanking maneuver. But the attack group wasn't aiming to engage the Krell ships directly. Instead, they released thousands of small objects into space, simple metal spheres that began broadcasting electromagnetic signals on frequencies matching Confederation command protocols. The Krell defenses, programmed to prioritize command and control targets, registered thousands of new high-value signatures suddenly appearing throughout their formation. Their automated targeting systems, overwhelmed by the false signals, began to divide their fire among the decoys. ECM packages deployed successfully, reported the tactical officer. Krell point defense systems are engaging the decoys. Elena nodded grimly. Phase 3. Activate the Trojan payloads. The innocuous metal spheres, now distributed throughout the Krell fleet, simultaneously activated their secondary systems. Each sphere contained a small quantity of exotic matter, a technology human scientists had helped develop by combining Confederation theoretical physics with Earth's practical engineering approaches. When activated, the exotic matter created localized distortions in spacetime, miniature gravity wells that played havoc with the Krell's sensitive navigation systems. Ships that relied on precise formation flying suddenly found themselves pulled off course, colliding with one another or firing on friendly vessels as their targeting systems malfunctioned. The Krell formation is breaking down completely, Narrasil reported, unable to keep the amazement from her voice. Their collective coordination is failing. Elena's eyes remained fixed on the massive form of the inevitable dominance. Now for the killing stroke. Signal Strike Team Achilles to launch. From the hangar bays of 3 human carriers, a squadron of small assault craft launched. Unlike the massive capital ships engaged in the main battle, these vessels were designed for a single purpose: to deliver a strike team directly to the heart of the Krell command ship. Commander Jackson Wong, a veteran of Earth's Special Forces, led the 20-person assault team. Their mission was simple but nearly suicidal: board the inevitable dominance, fight their way to its central node, and plant a device that would disrupt the Krell hive mind. Strike Team Achilles away, Wong reported as his craft accelerated toward the massive enemy flagship. ETA to target, 4 minutes. The assault craft, utilizing stealth technology adapted from Confederation science, approached the Krell command ship under the cover of the main battle. As they neared their target, they encountered less resistance than expected. The Krell were still struggling to reorganize after the disruption caused by the exotic matter devices. "We're approaching the outer hull," Wong informed the command ship. "Preparing to breach." The assault craft attached themselves to the biomechanical hull of the inevitable dominance like remoras on a shark. Specialized cutting tools, designed to penetrate the living metal of Krell vessels, began carving entry points. The strike team, clad in powered armor that combined human design philosophies with Confederation technology, prepared to enter the beast. "Breaches complete," Wong reported. "We're going in." The interior of the Krell command ship was unlike anything humans had ever encountered. A nightmarish blend of organic and mechanical components that pulsed with an unsettling life. Conduits that might have been veins or power cables lined walls that seemed to breathe. The strike team moved through these alien corridors, following the path mapped out by Confederation intelligence toward the central node. Resistance was fierce but disorganized. The Krell drones, normally coordinated with perfect precision by the hive mind, now responded with almost individual tactics, a sign that the broader strategy was working. "We're encountering heavy resistance near Junction 17B," Wong transmitted. "The Krell are adapting to our presence." "Understood," Elena replied from the command ship. "All units, increase pressure on the Krell fleet. Give Strike Team Achilles the diversion they need." The main battle intensified. Human and Confederation ships executed increasingly unpredictable maneuvers, forcing the Krell to divide their attention. Every time the hive mind began to reorganize its forces, the Allied fleet would shift tactics, keeping the enemy off balance. Aboard the inevitable dominance, Strike Team Achilles fought their way toward the central node. They lost 4 members to Krell defenders but continued to push forward, adapting their approach with each engagement. The remaining team members finally reached their objective. a massive chamber where pulsating organic structures interfaced with crystalline technology. "We've reached the target," Wang reported, his voice strained from exertion, preparing to deploy the disruptor. The device they carried, dubbed Pandora by its human designers, was the result of a crash collaboration between human neurologists and Confederation psychic researchers. It was designed to introduce chaotic patterns into the Krell hive mind's hugely ordered consciousness, essentially giving a collective intelligence the equivalent of a seizure. "Device is armed," Wang confirmed. "Detonation in 30 seconds. We're evacuating now." The strike team fought their way back toward their insertion point, losing 2 more members in the process. As they reached their assault craft, the Pandora device activated. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the Krell fleet, ships suddenly lurched in random directions or ceased fire altogether. Some vessels began attacking their neighbors, while others went completely dormant. The hive mind, which had directed the Krell expansion across dozens of star systems with relentless efficiency, was experiencing chaos for the first time in its existence. "It's working," Narrasil exclaimed, watching the tactical display as the Krell fleet descended into disarray. "Their coordination is completely broken." Elena nodded grimly. "All ships, execute final attack pattern. Target the inevitable dominance with everything we have." The combined fleet converged on the Krell flagship, pouring fire into the now vulnerable Leviathan. Without the coherent direction of the hive mind, its defensive systems failed to coordinate effectively. Massive breaches appeared in its hull as Confederation energy weapons and human kinetic projectiles tore through its vital systems. Strike Team Achilles, -6 of its members, successfully disengaged from the dying flagship and retreated to a safe distance. They watched alongside the rest of the fleet as the inevitable dominance began to break apart, secondary explosions cascading through its massive form. With a final, catastrophic detonation, the Krell command ship was destroyed. Throughout the remaining Krell fleet, ships either went completely dormant or began to retreat in disorganized patterns. The hive mind that had directed them was no more. "Enemy flagship destroyed," the tactical officer announced, almost disbelieving. "The remaining Krell vessels are retreating or have ceased all function." A stunned silence fell over the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, broken only when someone checked the mission chronometer. 5 hours, Admiral Narrasil said quietly. "From engagement to victory in just 5 hours." Elena allowed herself a small smile as she studied the tactical display. The battle had cost them 28 Confederation ships lost, 17 human vessels destroyed or disabled. But compared to the alternatives, the slow, grinding defeat they had been facing, the price was remarkably small. "Send word to the Confederation Council," Elena said. "The Krell command structure has been neutralized. Request instructions regarding pursuit of remaining enemy forces." In the days that followed, the full implications of the victory became clear. Without the guidance of their central hive mind, the Krell forces throughout Confederation space fell into disarray. Many ships simply went dormant, while others retreated to the fringes of known space. Confederation forces, emboldened by their victory, and now employing human-inspired tactics, systematically reclaimed occupied worlds. 3 weeks after the Battle of Arcturus Nebula, High Chancellor Zex Terrell addressed a special session of the Confederation Council. Beside him stood Commander Elena Reyes, representing Earth. "The war that threatened to end our civilization has been won," the Chancellor declared, his plumage now returned to its vibrant blue hue. "And we owe this victory in no small part to our newest allies, humanity." The assembled representatives, who had once debated whether involving humans was worth the ethical compromise, now rose in a standing ovation. Helena, uncomfortable with the attention but representing her species, acknowledged the recognition with a respectful nod. Later, in a private meeting with the Chancellor and Admiral Narrasil, Elena raised the question that had been on many human minds. "What happens now?" she asked. "Earth has been exposed to technologies centuries beyond our development. We've fought alongside you, bled with you, Do we return to isolation, pretending none of this happened? The Chancellor exchanged glances with the Admiral before responding. The preservation directives were created to protect developing species from cultural and technological shock. But your world has already crossed that threshold, and with remarkable resilience. He gestured to a holographic display showing the galaxy, with Earth highlighted. The Council has voted unanimously to offer humanity full membership in the Confederation, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Your adaptability, your unique perspective on problem solving, would be invaluable to our collective future. Elena considered the offer, thinking of the possibilities it represented. Access to the stars, to technologies that could solve Earth's most pressing problems, and a chance to be part of something greater than any single planet. There will be challenges, she noted. Not everyone on Earth will welcome this change. We have our divisions, our conflicts. As do all species, Narasil replied. Perhaps that is what makes your perspective so valuable. You understand conflict in ways we had forgotten. And now, perhaps, you can help us remember how to maintain peace. As Elena departed to bring the Confederation's offer back to Earth, she reflected on the strange twist of fate that had brought humanity to the galactic stage. They had been recruited because of their talent for warfare, yet now stood on the threshold of a future dedicated to cooperation and peace. The universe had feared humanity's capacity for violence. Now it would learn about their equal capacity for creation, for innovation, and for bringing unexpected solutions to age-old problems. After all, a species that could win a 1,000-year war in just 5 hours could accomplish almost anything.